All right, so I had to do something a little different today. Originally, I had planned on going surfing tonight and documenting that and turning that into the video for today, but I ended up having different plans for dinner. I got back when the sun was almost set and a storm started coming in. So I had to pivot, but I still wanted to get a video out today because I didn't want to break my streak on the third day. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give you a few books that I think you should probably read. And the first one is Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson. This is a wonderful biography written by Walter Isaacson. He followed Elon Musk for several years, and it's composed of interviews of family and friends and from Elon Musk himself, and Isaacson's accounts of what he saw and witnessed as he shadowed Elon Musk for a few years. And it's probably the closest thing you'll ever get to spending a day with Elon Musk. It really shows you the intensity he has towards his businesses, and it's a really cool book to read. I was trying to pick one of these two books. This one was Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. I was trying to pick one of these two books to recommend in this, but I couldn't pick one. They're both pretty equally interesting. They're both very, very, very informative. And I think there's a lot to learn from both of these guys. They were both very intense leaders, and things can be said, positive and negative, about that, but there's still, things you can learn, things you can take from them, things you don't have to adapt to your own life. But if you want to be a good leader, if you want to succeed in business, I would highly, highly recommend these books. Sticking to the business theme, it's more personal finance, though, but not like exclusively personal finance. This is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. This is one of my favorite books. This is the first book I read on the topic of financial literacy, and it really changed my perspective on how I view money and what I plan to do with the money that I acquire throughout my life. There's a lot of controversy around this book, though, because a lot of people claim that the stories he tells about him and his childhood best friend and his rich dad, his poor dad, a lot of people claim that they were made up. I have no idea if that's true or not. I don't really care, because whether or not they were made up, the stories are still valid. It's more like a parable. And this book reads really well. I mean, I read this book for the first time when I was probably 10. I would give this to a 9-year-old and they would understand it. And if they had questions, it's very easy to, based off of this, explain to them what they're missing. All right, so certainly the most important book on this list, by far, is the Bible. This is the greatest book ever written, hands down, for so many different reasons. I mean, this is a history book. It gives some of the most clear historical accounts of any book we know of. It's incredible. There's so many good stories in here that it's historical accounts, but they read like stories. They're not fake. They're true. They are 100% true. But they're fantastic stories of wrestling with the world and Jesus and God, and seeking to come closer to God. I mean, some books I would like to recommend right off the bat. I mean, if you want a good gospel, Mark is a fantastic gospel. It's really concise. You can read it in like 2.5 hours if you're a slow reader, and that gives you a chronicle of Jesus' life. I don't think it starts with the Christmas story in Mark. I think he starts a little later in his life after he started ministry. But it does take you through what matters the most, which is the crucifixion and the perfect sacrifice. So that's a great place to start, is Mark. Another fantastic book I would like to recommend right away is Romans. It's a letter from Paul to the early Roman Church, and there's just so many themes of things that we struggle with to this day. Sin and our relationship with it, and our relationship with God, and forgiveness of those sins, and even more current issues that I won't talk about now. But if you read Romans, you'll know what I'm talking about. Another great one is Proverbs. Proverbs was written mostly, I think it's either mostly or all of Proverbs was written by Solomon, King Solomon, who of course God came to him and promised to grant him a wish, and He could have asked for riches or anything his heart desired, but he simply asked for wisdom. And as a reward, God gave him riches and prosperity. But Solomon shared a lot of his wisdom in Proverbs. And yeah, it's a really great read. You can take it line by line, and every line is just a little piece of wisdom that you can download in your brain and makes you feel pretty smart. The other one is Ecclesiastes. That one's kind of a downer, but in a good way, if that makes sense. I mean, it's a really good chronicle of a man wrestling. They don't know for sure who wrote it. I believe it was probably King Solomon, but it highlights this wrestling with, this balance between the world and God, and how we can never really find fulfillment in this life. And yeah, I love Ecclesiastes. It's a really good book. I should probably read through it again soon. I need to read Romans again, but yeah, there's lots of good stuff in this book. I can't recommend it enough. And also, if you have time, maybe you could read my book.